What's up, Savannah? Good morning. What's up, Haley? Oh, whoops. There, you can probably hear me better. Check, check. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Check, check. Hello. Good morning. All right, let's see. I'm gonna try something.
Ow, I pinched my finger. What are you doing? Let's...
I don't know. It's just...
That's a game.
Okay, I don't know how it works.
Don't do it.
What's up, Marie?
Get out of that now. How do
It's
we
just
get
on
out
there.
of it? It was there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, strange.
All right. Good morning. Happy Friday.
1 second.
All right. Doing the podcast solo today. Greatest show ever. Highest ratings, most truth bombs, most insight ever. Oh, you're back. Whoops.
Nice try. Here's the computer.
All right. This is the pre-show. Stick with us. We'll get to the real show. You guys know this, though. Good morning.
It's funny when you wave at someone, I'm like, what's that say? And it says, you waved at that person. And I'm like, oh. It happens every time that you wave at someone and then I read.
Here, I'll wave at Christina. What's up? What's up, Chris? What's up, Andy? Draw it? Yeah, I don't know what draw it is.
Check. And I never will. Check, check. Why is that so high? What the crunch? Check, check.
Hello, hello, check,
hello,
check.
hello. Are kids like flipping around with these knobs? Check.
Yellow, hello. Good morning, Rochelle. What's up?
Okay.
Hello. Good morning. All right.
I'm ready to roll.
Ready to roll. Wait a minute. I waved. Okay.
There is a hair doing something and it's tripping me out.
Okay.
Ah!
Giant fuzz in my mouth. Gross.
Gross.
Oh, can I have a sip of your...
No, make your own.
Nope. I just buy the supplies for them, so...
Okay. Weird. Passive aggressive much?
Type 9. Did you hear me what I said?
Type 9.
Yeah. Those are a lot better than I remember.
I changed
What do you
the
do
recipe.
differently?
I added orange juice a little bit. Not a ton.
Oh, so
you have it in your beard. That's kind of weird looking. I added orange juice. I took out the mint.
Tell our people.
I took the mint out because, well, I
kind of like the mint.
The mint was good, but buying mint at the grocery store is like buying plastic. It's just the most amount of plastic in a container ever. But then it was out of season in the winter because it wasn't growing in our yard. So I was like, I don't need mint. I'm not going to buy $1 worth of mint and, ruin the environment.
We used to have great free mint. Hey, Adina. What's up? What's up, Nat Grace?
Mint is like, you don't do anything to make it grow. So we'll have an abundance of mint anytime. But
right.
I just didn't want to buy it.
Got it.
Check. Where's my... Are we plugged in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Are you ready?
Everything is good. Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready? Why do you have Enneagram stuff there?
I was looking at it. Can I be my own
I
human?
am so sore.
You
All
need
right.
to do yoga. Okay.
Yoga.
Hello and welcome to the Anatomy of Marriage podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
Good morning. My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and today is day 61 of the 100 days of AOM questions, and it is titled Self-Awareness. Oh, wait a minute. I changed...
Yeah, you changed the title.
Sorry,
Read
I
the one
changed
that
the title
I
on the
had
thing.
if you didn't write it down.
Well, it's, I don't remember what I wrote down, but you guys on Facebook Live should know, so sorry. We're going to talk about some real stuff today. How about
Yes.
that?
Okay.
All right.
If you're new here, welcome. We have over 270 episodes about all things marriage and relationship related. We had a really, really, really hard marriage in the beginning, and that's why we made this podcast, so that we can help other couples not have the struggles that we had.
That's right.
And as always, this podcast is brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage to get a free audiobook on us. We love audiobooks. We read them every single day. They are like how we go to school, sort of for free. So get a free audiobook on us. Visit audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage. And
That's
we
right.
love audiobooks.
And if you haven't joined us yet, we are live every single weekday on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, where we interact with you guys. And I want to read a funny question. Savannah says, my husband had a small fangirl moment when he found out that you were in Emory. He saw you guys at Warped Tour way back, and your CD was kind of a soundtrack to our early dating days. Yes! Testament to the power of emo.
Right?
And then Christina says, same with my husband, Savannah. So, yes, I was a drummer in a world-famous rock band.
I think it's really funny because when ever I hear the Emory music from, because that's when we were dating. Like, he moved out to Washington when they went to record The Week's End.
Yeah.
And so it's so hilarious because, like, I remember listening to The Week's End with my old boyfriend.
Oh,
and
man.
being like, listen to their album, weird.
It was probably like some demo CD that
it was the first.
I gave you or something.
Yeah, it was. I didn't buy it. That's for sure.
Nice.
It's very funny. Oops.
Yeah.
So that is totally the soundtrack of our relationship. Is all the emo early 2000s. Anything.
Yeah.
May, all of those bands.
I was in a couple of bands, and I play drums, and that's a lot of fun. So.
And if you love emo and Tooth and Nail bands, I make the labeled podcast for Tooth and Nail Records. Go listen to it. You will die and be back in your teen years.
Yeah, she makes all that. So
anyhow,
okay, that was very tangential.
No, that's all right. That's great.
All right. But it's who we are, and that kind of goes along with what we are going to talk about today.
Don't get us sidetracked, Christina. We're not going to talk about who our favorite bands are now.
We'll do that. We'll do that in the
Christina
post-show.
does mention, have we ever talked about love languages? And we should talk about love languages, but we'll do that a different day.
Yeah, that'll be.
So I'm going to put it for tomorrow's questions. But today we had, Today we wanted to talk about a couple different things that are going on in our lives right now and different ways of kind of dealing with it. So why don't you start off the story of the last couple of days. Do you want to start that off? Yeah,
I was writing about it in the journal today because the journal is a helpful thing for me, and this all has to do with Enneagram 9 and figuring out a bunch of stuff about myself, and I try not to only talk about myself or this what we're going through, because it does feel kind of self-aggrandizing, but it's kind of helpful for me, and when I normalize my own story, it helps you guys normalize stuff, because I'm not the only one that thinks or feels or acts this way, so it's really helpful. So that's why I do it. It's not a listen to me show or anything, and that's probably what a 9 would say, but that's all right. So I'm listening to the Atlas. Ryan, what's his last name? Ryan O'Neal, the composer that has written songs about each Enneagram type. And he is a 9 himself, and I listen to the 9 song. Every time I listen to it, I just literally die and ugly face cry, and it's so painful, it's so hurtful, and I've only listened to it 4 times because I can't bear to do it more. And I listened to the podcast, a 2-hour podcast about the song yesterday, and he had, Chris Hewerts on there, who's a big time Enneagram guy, and explaining all the stuff about the 9. And it's okay, you'll know your Enneagram type when everything that we're saying about this type hurts deathly. And it did, and it does, and it has. And I'm super trying to work through all that stuff because it feels like it's so complicated, and I can clearly see the last year or the last even couple of years that I've done a good job at certain things and then just checked out whenever there's conflict, whenever there's hard stuff, and acting that way or being that way in a marriage isn't helpful, and I'm realizing that. So what 9s have to do is assert themselves in certain ways, and also understand and remind yourself that your opinion matters. You can step up, and we talk about filling out your Seth or Melanie shaped space in the universe, and every time you shrink down, if I want to be conflict avoidant or minimize my feelings or whatever, that's shrinking down, and that's not being who you are. And I know that every single time that I've shown up fully, whether it be work or love with you or my kids or creating content, that has always been the best, most, and highest calling. However, it is so hard and taxing to do that. It's okay, I'd rather sleep not literally, but just like check out, sleep, and numb out. And I have seen that a lot of my actions have been towards numbing out, all thinking I'll be busy, I'll create this program, I'll go help this single mom, I'll go help this dad, I'll do this, I'll write a podcast, do a podcast about it, I'll do all this stuff. And in actuality, it looks good up front, and it's valuable, it's valiant, or whatever word, adjective you want to use. However, it's like literally, I don't want to say killing me inside, but it is like slowly numbing me out. And I'm not saying like, oh yeah, thanks guys, this podcast is ruining my life. I'm not saying that. It's been very helpful. It's been very cathartic and forging in a way. However, it's like, how about this? I wrote in my thing, it's like things have been like, and this is not really over dramatic, it's like things have been falling apart for me, you know, and that's really hard to admit. It's not like a mental health crisis falling apart, I'm tripping out. Which would be fine, I guess. I want to normalize that. I hate the idea of me personally doing that, but that's my own stuff, I guess, which is so weird as a therapist. And, but like, I don't know. I look back and go, nothing is getting done. I'm just like it's like I'm on nitrous. Like I'm at the dentist on nitrous. And they described it yesterday in the podcast. It's like your head feels like a balloon floating on water, you know? And I'm like, how in the world can they describe me so well? Like every single thing is just like a knife going in. This is true. This is true. This is true, you know? And then not only like the negative, like displeasing things, but also like, and nines are the most fun people to be around. They can like they can love so deeply and understand and be so empathetic, and you like when you're around a 9 who is at the top, you know, it's just like this person, it's like joining, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, maybe I don't know if you felt this way, maybe this is a good question, but like, can you tell me about a time when like I was in a super good place, like just firing on all cylinders as a 9, and you felt just like, this is great? I mean, maybe it's, you know, phenylethylamine or being in love or whatever, or maybe even not, but just like, okay, he has got it, he is going, he is doing his highest and best. And how did that make you feel? Can you think of an instance?
I think this is really insightful even. I think the only times, or not the only times, but the majority of the time when that is the case, when you are like in your space and your zone, has been when we've had parties and everyone there is a safe person. Everyone in our home is like, oh, I get Seth. I know you guys. Oh, I'm not like, you're not trying to freaking charge your phone at night. Every time the battery does that. So, like it's when you know you're held well by everyone in the space. Because as a 9, you're trying to make sure, like you're projecting out to people who don't know you, like, oh, do they think I'm doing a good job? Is this what they need? Is this whatever? And are they worried about what I'm saying, or do they want me to say things more? And so when you're with people that you're really, really comfortable with and you don't have to put a show on for, that's when I think you are the actual most whole, soundest version of yourself and can be essentially free. I guess, if that makes any sense. That's not what you were asking me, but...
No, that's a good point, because I think back, I like to have parties, I like to cook, I like to be hospitable, I like to make people feel like you're the best, you're having a good time, what can I do for you, what can I get you, you know? And it's not because, oh, you'll be mad if I don't do that. It's like I find real joy and meaning behind that, I guess, which goes along with like empathy. Like I want to know, I want to understand what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and then also help facilitate that. Does that make sense? Like the 9 is, you know, a core thing is like being empathetic, but the most sad thing about that is like not having the ability to be empathetic or show empathy to yourself. And then like somebody said, like 9 wing 1, you kind of go to like a really self-critical place, and like the negative self-talk has just been bonkers,
Mm-hmm.
for, I don't know, but like the inability to concentrate on stuff. It's just been really crazy, and I'm just trying to do more and more and more. It's like, okay, fix it with another program or another idea.
Yeah, let me speak to that for a moment, because he's not just. You also are diagnosed hyper
No,
attention.
it's not hyper. It's just ADD.
Yeah, I know I said it wrong. Attention deficit disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to address that
Mm-hmm.
very openly and clearly. Like my neighbor, or my best friend, is a pediatrician, and she talks about the idea of people with ADD have an inability to self-soothe, right? And so your ADD nature, never mind your Enneagram number, your ADD self has this desire and this perpetual cycle thought that thing will make me happy. Whether that's a new bike, a different car, a different truck, a different scone, all the scones, ice cream and a scone. Like, you think that something else out there is the answer to your happiness. That will hold my satisfaction is over there. My satisfaction is in more sex, less sex, whatever, this kind of sex, that kind of food, that kind of TV. And so that's an ADD cycle that is layered on top of the self and the Enneagram number, all of those things. So there's multiple factorial things going on, factoria, that I think is important to address and to clearly state. And so Seth's tendency is, when he is stressed out, is to go to a thing, right? And that could be anything. It could literally be food. It could be, if I make a new program, I won't feel so antsy at my work. If I start doing the cold dip, I will feel more energized and I'll feel great. If I do the cold dip and I run and I jog and I write and I journal, I'm going to feel amazing. And so it's this perpetual adding on that has literally no limit and you can't see, I think you can't see the forest for the trees in how it actually is like you are taking away the freedom of like stillness and even the like ability to meditate or be calm or sit or just be or just walk or just like not have anything to do.
Right.
You've removed that from yourself, and now that is causing a problem.
Right. So that's what I named this podcast. That's exactly what it is. Or the last word in the podcast, or the last phrase. The only way out is through, and I've said that on the show a lot, and in that podcast yesterday, and somebody asked, I don't know, you can look it up, it's the Atlas Enneagram Songs podcast. Sleeping at Last
is the name
right?
of the songs. The album is called Atlas. The creator
Atlas
is
2,
Ryan O'Neal, I think.
Yeah, if you just Google it, that's how I did yesterday, because I don't have it on my feed, but anyway, he said a big part of that is making yourself feel uncomfortable, and like I'm realizing it right now. Like last year,
You're saying that was in the Enneagram thing?
That was in the Enneagram,
okay,
right?
Okay.
Like the only way out is through, and like, okay, if there's something uncomfortable that you and I need to talk about that can possibly cause a conflict, I can't go, okay, I'm gonna minimize that. I'm feeling kind of weird. I'm minimizing it. I'll just do it myself, right? That's what I've done for a million years, right?
Well, and
so hold on. The only way to get through that is to step up to that, you know. And I see how I'm like attempting to do it. Like last year, like I talked about, like do stuff that scares you and do stuff that's hard. Go to Toastmasters. Go to freaking Middle East and do a conference. Do another conference. All these things are putting me out of my comfort zone, and I can do those things. I like to do those things, right? It's not as uncomfortable anymore, but what is most uncomfortable is the real things, like the emotionally uncomfortable.
You've used the
things.
concept of getting out of your comfort zone to mask the discomfort of walking through literally the most sort of mundane discomforts. The things that are like, oh, I think Melanie might be mad. I'm just going to go do something else. I'm going to journal over here. I'm going to schedule a flight to Dubai. I mean, I'd really rather do
exactly
anything.
Like going to Toastmasters or doing stand-up comedy or literally going to do a conference in the Middle East is easy compared to
facing the potential that I might be irritated.
And I'm not joking when I say that.
I know you're not.
It's like, because if something comes up here, I'm like, oh, what's Facebook say? Oh, did that person email me back that I'm trying to get a thing with or whatever?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, what about this idea? Or let me record a thought so I can put it on the show or whatever. That is infinitely easier, and
it's all the distraction.
It's a distraction, right? And
but the hard part about that, as I was going to say a minute ago, is that it's the same. And I'm going to liken this to the way that when we lived at the house. It's easy to purchase a new thing. It's also super easy to just throw it in the giant shed we built and then never look at it again. Because if I look at it, I have to admit, I didn't really need that. I wasted money on it. Now I got to take it to Goodwill. Now I'm going to lose money on it. But if I don't do anything and I just throw it in a big fat pile, nobody cares, except everybody cares. Except there's a huge pile of crap in our shed that no one is dealing with. Except I'm sitting there going, do you really need this third bike? Like, you need 3 bikes? You need one that doesn't even have tires on it? Like, what are we doing here? And I'm not judging you or the way that your mind sees and works things through. I'm not judging that.
Right.
But that's the pattern that I've seen, where it's like, not dealing with things is still not dealing with them.
Right.
Just because you've ignored it and closed a door in front of it does not mean it's gone away. It's actually piling higher. And it's the sort of proverbial overstuffed closet of emotions. Like, it's not going anywhere. And now we're to not a breaking point, but we're seeing that we could be to a breaking point.
Right.
Where yesterday I just said, hey, here's what I'm seeing. I'd like you to talk to Cody about it. I'd like to, because Cody Jefferson is our coach, and he has gone through this very similar type of thing with his line of work and whatever. But I was like, I don't want you to feel the desire to come back home today. Like, go to the woods and be still. Like, go listen, do whatever. I mean, I didn't even suggest that you listen to the Enneagram thing. You chose to do that, and that's great. But I said, even if you don't come home tonight, that's fine. Like, I'll be here with the kids. We'll be fine. Like, I've got family. If I need help, I'll get help. No big deal. But I want you to find the calmness within yourself that realizes that more programs, more cars, more things, more doing, more food, more buying, more eating, more walking, more running. That's actually not going to get you to the place that you want to be, to the freedom that you want to have.
Yeah, so it's like the idea of letting go, like it's really confusing. Like, as a 9, and just me myself is like, okay, well, what now? What do I do?
Yeah.
Just go somewhere and sit, and like, again, like, this whole podcast is like just quips and little sayings, and I'm like, oh yeah, do this and say this, but I need to listen to that and understand that myself. Be still and know that I'm God. Do it down and just be. It's like, okay, just be. And that's the biggest thing. That's probably why it resonates with me, because like, inside my heart knows all you have to do is be. I'm not a human doing. I'm a human being, like Wayne Dyer says. But what does that even mean? It's like, just go. Don't do anything. Don't go buy something. Don't eat a scone. Don't, I don't know, look on Facebook. Don't look for emails. Don't look for these hits. Just do nothing. And it's like, well, okay, that's boring though.
Well, I want to address, someone wrote something really quickly. It says, there's a great book called How to Succeed as a Hunter in a Farmer's World by Tom Hartman, about how people with ADD and ADHD interact differently with the world around them. Oh my gosh, I want to check that out. What a great title.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Thank you for sharing that. That looks really amazing. I'll go up that way.
Minds needs to know their voice matters. Oh, 9s need to know. Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
One of the interventions for a 9 is like telling yourself that your opinion matters and actually believing that, and then asserting your opinion. Not in a weird way, but it's like, as I assert my feelings and thoughts, as I'm showing up, the thing that fears me the most is what you actually want. You know what I'm saying?
You just said the thing that fears me the most.
Sorry, it scares me the most. Like, if I say, hey, no, let's do this, and here's this idea, and I'm thinking like, oh, she's not going to like that, she's going to get upset, but you want me to be fully present rather than just be like, oh yeah, that's fine. And then what a 9 does is say, oh, that's fine. And then later blows up in anger. And like, anger is one of the 9's soul core emotions, which sounds super weird. And I was like, what? And they were saying,
I know what you're talking
it's a gift. If you like harness that, then you can do like amazing things, which I still don't fully understand. But it's interesting.
Savannah wrote, I love what Beth and Jeff were talking about. Like, I see this happening in you, and I would like to come alongside you and help you through this. And we can learn those signs through the Enneagram. Yes, that was actually a super insightful thing. They were talking about how the Enneagram works in a marriage and how you can see like your partner's different selves coming out, kind of like, and then go, oh, and actually, thank you for saying that, because that brings up a good point. So in the ADD side of this, with our son, we're kind of dealing with the same exact thing. And one of the things that what I learned yesterday, and I actually implemented yesterday, which was phenomenal, was that he has a hard time transitioning from one thing to another. If his expectation is set that we're going to go swim, and I say, oh, what if we went to the library instead? He cannot manage that. And you know who's said that forever? Who's done that?
Who?
You. If you have set, we're going to do something, and I throw out an option, well, what if we did this instead? You're like, why do you always do that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap, it's a thought. Yeah. I didn't change, it's literally an idea. So I had to, and it's going to sound not related, but it is. So, but one of the things I had to say that they teach in the book, The Explosive Child, is for telling the kid or the adult, hey, I'm going to need some flexible thoughts here for a minute. I just need you to have a flexible thinking mind on this for 5 seconds. I like the idea of swimming, but what if we did this instead? No big deal. We don't need to. And it's like speaking into the way that your brain and his brain process things, and they don't like things to change. And it's extremely helpful, just that insight, the same way that if you can understand your partner's Enneagram type, and you can speak to, literally speak to that type and that mind frame and the way that the mind works. And then sort of set your partner up for success and yourself up for success by having that awareness and speaking into it, if that makes sense.
No, it's also when they talked about it on the podcast, Jeff can see when his wife, who was a 9, Beth, is going towards some of the stress tendencies of an 8 or whatever, or actually it's like a 9 goes to 4 or a 6.
Well, no, I think it was an 8. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, and then he's like, okay, she's doing these things that a stressed out 8 would do. Hey, let me just check in with you. And this and this and this, and it's almost like it's a precursor to something going this way or something going that way, which is really interesting. So I would like to know. I appreciate you seeing that in me. I want to do it for you too, but I'm like, I got to take care of my own first. You know what I'm saying? So hold on. Ben says, Ben from Texas, our buddy. Hold on, Studleys. If there's one thing I've seen from you all the past few years of the podcast, is that you'll make it through, you'll learn from it, and you will teach others about how you walked through it in your time, and people will grow because it.
That's so
Ben,
kind.
thanks. That kind of choked me up. Thank you very much, actually.
Yes.
Somebody says else. Do you think your 7ness plays into that as well? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Talking to you.
Yes, and that's the other thing I wanted to address. I'm glad that you brought that up. Is that one of the things even last night, and this is so weird because I was talking to my neighbor yesterday. She and I had an adult play date at McDonald's. My kids were playing, and she came and visited me.
You ate ice cream.
And we were talking about the overlaying things of Seth is ADD. Seth is a 9. Seth has this type of attachment in his family of origin, whatever. And not we weren't gossiping. We were just sort of thinking about ourselves in that way, our partners in that way, and talking about it. And one of the things that is so challenging in our relationship is that as a 7, even when you said listening to your Enneagram song was it hurts so bad. That is the absolute opposite feeling I had. When I heard mine, I was like, angels and birds and butterflies and flying and swimming and yay! Really? Nothing about my song hurt.
Well, 7 is the enthusiast.
I know. And that's what I'm saying. Right. What's so hard is that when I see these challenges, last night we had this whole conversation about Stoicism and the thinking self and the feeling self, and I want to talk about that right now, but one of the things that's so challenging in that is when I present that to you, my fervor and my enthusiasm for that, even the gritty, hard part of that, doesn't translate to you. Because in your mind, you're like, she's criticizing me. This feels bad. Why is she talking about how I should change? I don't want to change. I want to eat a scone and I don't want to change, right? And in my brain, I'm like, we could change. We could do, I'm like the Hulk just going, oh! But it is the absolute opposite of what you want, need, think, feel, desire, long for.
Yeah. Because at the core, also a 9 is chill. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of people like me, I think.
I read somewhere that...
Not chill hey bro, Bob Marley chill.
Was it that one where he says 9s are if I'm standing, why am I not sitting? And if I'm sitting, how come I'm not laying down? Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the funniest thing. Yeah, and that's so true, where I'm I am like really excited and enthused and like, what's the word? Like aroused when like it's that like heightened excitement for self change, for growth. The hard stuff, the things that are challenging, the things that are like, oh, we're gonna get in there and change that makes me really excited. And that's the absolute opposite of what you want, and that explains 99.9% of why we've argued every day in our marriage forever.
Yeah.
It's like what I think of is like, we could do this better and have a chart and do it every day. It's going to be amazing. And you're like, will you stop? And I'm like, no. Right?
Yeah. So it's like really working that out and you understanding, like, I think of the pursued distancer dynamic, you know, if like 75% of our interaction is making me uncomfortable, that doesn't work, and I don't want to be around you.
Well,
you know? I don't want to.
But I think it's the awareness is curative element. And Leslie just said knowing your arrows, your Enneagram arrows, is really helpful. And I have barely even minutely figured that out for myself. I don't even really know. So that's really helpful, and I want to look into it more. But yeah, I think that will be helpful. But one of the things I wanted to mention in this whole sort of like bigger journey and the conversations that we had yesterday is that this idea of seeing ourselves in almost like layers. We've used this analogy before, like yourself, the doing self is in the arena, and then the like thinking person of yourself is out in the stands of the arena. And one can look down at the other one and see the perspective so differently than the one who's in the center of the arena. And last night in our conversation, I called the guy in the middle of the arena the feeling man, and the guy out in the stands, in the stadium seats, in the very, very, very nosebleed section, the thinking man. And so, oh my gosh. And so one of the things that I wanted to bring up was this idea of like, I think it's valuable to kind of put Stoicism into the context of this conversation where, things can get out of hand and you can start going like, oh, Enneagram this, Enneagram that, ADD this, ADD that, and then all of a sudden it's a flurry again. It's like if you've ever swam in a lake and you've kicked the mud in the bottom of the lake and all of a sudden it's like terrifying darkness comes from nowhere. It's going to swallow you and you're going to die. I grew up on a lake. But that's the thing where I think Stoicism and sort of mindfulness can help bring these things down to a different level where you're saying, well, what do I even do? This is boring. I think it's a meditation on Stoicism that is what might be helpful for you.
Yeah, it's like when I would run on the treadmill for 30 minutes, I'm like, I could run a very longer time, but it's so stupid and boring, right? There's nothing to look at, there's nothing to think about, you just do that, right?
Look inside your mind and think about yourself.
I know, I know that, but I'm saying it's like, there's a lot of instances. You don't want to do it. No, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. So I think that, I don't know, I'm not trying to be weird, but I think that that's, to me, my parents are almost Stoics. Like, when I was thinking about it, my dad for sure is. My mom almost is. She's a Stoic with a temper. But...
she's a Boic.
A Boic. Nice. But I don't know, I think it's interesting, and I wanted to introduce that concept into this idea, because I think without it, we're kind of just flailing around with our Enneagram numbers and not knowing what we're doing. And I think we need something to kind of peg us down to our, like, a deeper inner truth, to a deeper, like, the feeling self is the lizard, and the thinking self is like your universal brain mind that can see all the things out there. And
universal brain mind.
If you're stuck like a lizard inside of an arena, just going around and around and around and around, you're never going to get anything done. And that's where I feel like we're at right now, or were at yesterday maybe. And I'm excited for what this change looks like.
Of course you are. 7.
Okay, gosh, sorry.
No, I'm excited.
Would you rather I be a poopy pants about it and cry?
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm excited too. And when you said like, oh yeah, me as a 7, I listened to that song. It's like angels and rainbows and you know, like part of why like that song is, the 9 song is so powerful to me, because it gives me a glimpse into like my true self, which has been freaking covered up since I was
But you've been
9 years
covering
old.
it up.
Yeah, I know that.
Don't get mad at me.
You know what I'm saying? So like that's why like I lost it in a bar in Denver when you said that somebody else said, who I really love and care about and respect, like, oh yeah, when he gets there, I'm like, that is too much right now. It's amazing, and so it is like super hopeful, rainbows, angels, like the feeling of that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that is where now it's like, okay, taking the time, the process, the energy, the mental, everything, the heart power, the heart strength to be like, don't check out, sit here, because the work, it's like it says this at the end of that song. It's like, to do this work is the most meaningful and the most beautiful thing you could ever do, right? And to a 9, that's too much.
There's another word you're missing.
The most meaningful, beautiful.
It's
something
challenging
like
thing.
Yeah,
to do
well, yeah, the most
like
challenging,
that.
but the most meaningful thing
Mm-hmm.
I could ever do, which is amazing. I think knowing your Enneagram is great for growth, but we are sometimes
using it
as a crutch.
Yep, I agree.
To some degree, yeah, and I'm not going to say, I will never say, oh, well, I'm ADD, or like, oh, I'm a 9. We talk about that all the time. Oh, well, I'm just that way, or I'm just snazzy, you know, or like
Snazzy.
whatever. I don't know.
Dazzler.
Yeah, I'm just.
Bedazzled.
That's just him, or that's just her. I don't use those things as a crutch,
Yeah.
and it's a tool and insight to me. So somebody says Chris Hewart's talked about each type's work as like what you can do to grow more healthy and to a healthy self and get back to the basics of your type. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and for me, he's like, the 3 best things is to believe my opinion matters, which sounds weird, I guess. Believe it matters, not to minimize anything, to be assertive, and then also to, I can't remember the third thing, but he gave me 3 things to like work on and meditate and like do this. Because every time I don't do that, I just check out and be like, oh, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you become apathetic, which is not a good place.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have
what are
lots
you
of
thinking
thoughts.
about?
Nothing. I don't want to make it go any longer, but
What are your thoughts?
I just think that there's an element that we're kind of all ignoring, not intentionally, but I think that the element of like actually believing your emotions is kind of a terrible thing to do. And I think what's hard about this Enneagram...
No, not emotions.
No,
opinions.
No, I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, I think what's tricky about your particular type is that in one sense, you have been believing your emotions every moment of your day and following them as if they will lead somewhere. They always lead to a scone, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you hear your thing like, my opinion matters. I mean, we talked about this last night.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion matters. My voice needs to be heard. I want a scone now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there's this weird... it's tricky. That's a
Right.
very tricky thing to navigate because that isn't the opinion that it's talking about.
So I think you're misunderstanding. Like,
I'm not misunderstanding.
My opinion that I want or deserve a scone is not what they're talking about. It's like the kind of like core opinions. Get a scone, don't get a scone. That's not my core heart. You know, my core heart is like, okay, how can I be empathetic and do good work and do all these things that are great? I don't want to minimize that. Like, oh, I don't think we should go this way.
I know, but what I'm saying, I'm not saying that you are doing that now. You literally have been doing that for 15 years.
Right.
And I'm saying that's the trickiest part, is that this sort of conflating of, but what I'm feeling and what my emotions are, what my mood is, all of these factors are like you know when you the eye doctor will put different lenses in front of something, and if they're like 3D goggles, it'll show something different. And when you've added a layer of the Enneagram type, ADD, like your childhood, your family of origin, when you add all these things up, it will actually create a path that maybe if you took away a few of those layers and had more awareness about them, your path would be totally different. Without the green layer and the yellow one, you're saying, oh, it's going left, not straight.
Right, and so that's a good point, because now you can go through the work of like, okay, let's go through the work of family words and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's educate ourselves about ADD or whatever other stuff is going on.
Very strongly saying that the emotional element of a 9, and this applies to anybody, but like the emotionality that you feel is actually causing you to get off of course. And it's the hard work that you need to do, I think, as like you being a 9, is that the going through that emotion while not obeying it, right? Like feeling the dissonance of, I want a scone, but having the thinking man way up here, up in the thing says, don't get a scone, you don't really want it won't bring you eternal happiness, right? Like that's what I'm saying. It's figuring out the dissonance of the discomfort of how your emotion comes in like a rain cloud, and then it clouds all of your judgment moving forward, and then you didn't end up where you wanted, but you followed your heart right to the scone, right? And so that's what I'm saying. I feel like it's really complicated. There are so many filters that add in like dimension and layers that I'm like, this is super confusing now. I don't know where to go, because there are some things that aren't helpful. Emotionality, like the lack of control over emotion. The opposite of that is stoicism, like knowing that things will be, like, stuff's gonna be challenging. Get over it. Who cares? Yeah, stuff's hard. Doy. You know, don't.
I was talking to your brother about this yesterday.
Oh, he's like the ultimate stoic.
Well,
weirdo
I think
stoic.
He's got some things,
He's
but
a
whatever.
Stoic, yeah.
But like, he literally was like, so what? You wake up, you work, you go to bed. You wake up, you work, you go to bed. And he was like, so serious.
I'm sure he was.
Thanks. Like,
My
it
brother
was
is
just
so weird.
like not helpful. He's like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Go do a program. You wake up, you work, you go to bed.
Was
Nothing
he like
matters.
listening to my dad?
I know. I was like, oh my
Weirdo.
gosh.
Yeah.
It was
I mean,
pretty
he's
funny.
goofy.
Savannah says reveal to remove. I like that. That's pretty good.
Where? I don't see that.
Right there. Wait a minute. The emotion is a trigger to something much bigger almost always, right?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. Are you basically saying he follows his heart too much rather than trying to reason more? Let's see. How about this?
Heart is maybe not the wrong, or heart might not be the right word there. So he follows his impulses. He follows the desire for something, but it's almost always with the intention of, this will make me happy.
Yeah, this will alleviate whatever. So I guess, I mean,
it's an avoidance tactic.
It's avoidance, yeah, but even that is confusing to me, because I'm like, okay, so what do I do? Just like not eat a scone ever? I'm never going to check Facebook. I'm never going to drink a beer. Okay.
You could do
that. Sucks.
You could do that for a time and see what they mean to you.
Right.
What value, what meaning are you placing on a scone?
Right.
Right now, a scone is your escape mechanism. It's the escape hatch that leads back to the beginning of the race.
Right.
Like you go, oh, scone, I'm free, and then you end up right back at square one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because
so
it's a
that
distraction.
again goes to the only way out is through.
It's like in Super Mario Brothers, in the castles with the ghosts, and the doors are tricks, and they go back to the beginning. And until you figure out which door is the right door, which is not the scone door, you will go back to the beginning every time.
Right. So yeah, that makes me think about a lot of Stoic stuff, and like the actual idea of a fast, or intentionally what?
Go ahead.
Are you laughing at something there?
I'm laughing at that you want to do another thing.
No, it's not a thing. It's like the intentional deprivation
Yeah.
of something for a very targeted reason. Like, okay, I'm not going to do this. But then I talk myself out of it.
But I think it's the intention behind it has to be, I am not going to do that thing so that I can let it reveal to myself what that thing actually means to me.
Right.
And once I understand what that thing means, so here's a perfect example. To me, a cafe cup equals, it's tension release. That cafe cup is going to kill me. It's going to give me cancer. I'm not even kidding. That cafe cup is nothing but chemicals, right?
A cafe cup is like this trash
Kroger has them.
Yeah.
But they're deliciously disgusting delicious, right? But they literally cause inflammation in my body. I can feel it. And so I hadn't connected the dots for a really long time. But once I realized, okay, I cannot eat those. Like I can't eat them anymore. And I had to detach the meaning of that stupid cafe cup from my psyche, right? I'm not kidding when I say that. I had to go, why do I want one?
You thought of it this way?
Yeah. Because I'm like, well, it feels like a release. Why does it feel like a release? Well, it's sugar, right? So it's and I just dissected all of it. I like you know in that movie, I can't remember what it's called, where there's a horse and then all the glass like cuts it into a million pieces and it spreads it apart.
Yep.
I don't remember what that movie is. I watched it forever ago. It's really scary.
I told you.
No, I don't want to know about it. It's too much. But anyway, that scene when there's like a horse and all the glass cuts it in half or like into like a bunch and then it like
it's called The
all
Cell.
Sure.
With Jennifer Lopez.
I saw it in the theaters.
Oh.
But anyway, when it breaks it all apart, that's what I do with things. When I go, why am I doing this? It's not healthy. You could do it with a scone. Why am I doing this? Dissect it, because there's all these layers to it. There's like the flaky crust. I'm just kidding.
Don't.
That was really funny. The blueberries.
The crust.
The salt on top or whatever.
Okay. I love your creative brain, Mel, and your examples. It's so fun to see how your brain works. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
it's
married
crazy.
to her. I feel the same way about my afternoon latte. though caffeine addiction might be a part of it.
Yes,
LOL.
even that. I had to dissect that because I always want to drink coffee, but I just like and when I dissected that, I realized I like the sensation of having a warm glass of something in my hands. So just start drinking tea or decaf. I mean, it's stuff like, as stupid as that is, it's really empowering.
Somebody says, and if you don't choose the scone for a few days, it's not as bad as a scone for every day.
It's still progress, yeah.
That is still progress. So, okay, here's a long one.
I'm a 5. There are times where I have to tell my husband my bucket is empty, my energy is gone, and this conversation is not going to be beneficial at this time. That's great. Sometimes he feels like I'm saying, I'm a 5, just stop talking. But really, I think it helps when we are able to know certain things about our type, and we can use that to better relationships as well. I think it's different when you're a complete jerk or something, and just say, it's because I'm whatever, I'm a 5. I liked it when I thought that said complex jerk. I'm a complex jerk.
Aren't we all?
That's really helpful.
Somebody says, are you basically saying, we already read that one. That's right.
Yeah, okay, this is really a long episode, and I'm super sorry. But I'm not super sorry. I'm very happy that this is a long episode. But I wanted to wrap it up. But are you reading? You got to focus, bro.
Yeah, well, there's a ton.
Mountain Dew. I feel totally the same way about my Mountain Dew or energy drinks. Dang, you should... I'm going to talk to you about this Mountain Dew.
Stop those energy drinks right now.
Just call it Cancer Dew. How about that?
I totally understand Seth. I think I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. So emotional.
Emotional control can be so exhausting and difficult. My husband is a 7-8, and it's like, just stop. Oh my gosh, I am a 7-8. That's exactly.
We love the long episode. I don't.
Mel knows my love for Kroger blueberry donuts. I want one so bad. I was going to try to find one yesterday, and I didn't.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you for being with us on this sort of like self-exploration into the 9 and like what it means and what it looks like. And I think everybody could benefit from like a dash of stoicism.
Yeah.
And the fact, and like just the concept of self-awareness.
I've read a ton of those books too. I want to get them out again. And
don't get them out. You don't need to add more to your plate, my darling love.
All right.
You need to sit quietly. Those things need to steep in your soul.
No radio, no
It's
podcast.
like you're taking, okay, this is really weird. But like, like a tea bag.
Oh, yeah.
Like the actual tea. It's like you're taking boiling water and you're just like going, and then you're pulling it right back out. And you're not leaving it in there.
Right.
And then you're taking a billion of them and just going, and then taking them right back out.
I'm a tea bag. I don't want to be in hot water.
You need to steep. The stuff needs to actually steep and get into that.
That's a good analogy. Mountain Dew is my devil on my shoulder.
It is the devil. Think of it that way. Draw horns on your Mountain Dew bottle. Actually, don't buy a Mountain Dew bottle.
Oh, yeah. Even when you said the other day to turn off the podcast and just let your brain process it all. That's true. Like, I think I told you, like, on my runs, I used to listen to music or podcasts. And the last couple of days, I stopped. Even when I go to the gym a couple of days, I don't even take my phone. It's just like, whatever I'm thinking, it's fine. No music, no nothing, and it's really helpful. Seth Studley, I'm a teabag. Bye.
I know, it's not too funny. I was like, I'm going to use
Leslie,
this analogy.
you're so funny.
It's so weird.
Okay, well, we got to go. We love you guys. Hopefully you have a good Friday.
Wait, hold on
today.
1 second. It says, Mountain Dew is a devil on my shoulder. It can do one arm handstands. Emperor's New Groove reference.
Nah.
Best movie ever.
Hey, look at me.
Look at this.
Sure
look at this.
All right.
He goes, what does he say? That's a dress.
Be gone.
And you're a harp or whatever he says.
Yeah,
it's so funny. It's the best movie ever.
All right.
Anyway, okay, we love you.
Guys.
Thank you for joining us.
See you later.
This is awesome. Thank you for being a part of our group. Go to the Facebook groups, join them. The women's group is absolutely slaying. Men's group drools.
All right. Peace out. Later.
All right. Have a good day. Bye. You did like 0 call to action. You just go, hey, peace out.
Well, it's a lot, so I'm tired. Anyway, hope you guys...
What's he say? That's a harp, and that's a dress.
I don't know.
Emperor's New Groove is going to 100% be in my head all day now.
All right, Facebook Live.
Hold on, I showed my kids that movie, and they don't like it. They may have been more upset than I would like to admit. Oh my gosh, it's the best one. I haven't... Yzma is the best.
Yzma is hilarious. Leslie, thank you. I do have it.
I want to have another kid and name her Yzma. I want to have a girl, though.
Oh, boy.
Thank you, Savannah.
All right, guys. Thanks. Have an awesome Friday.
It's been real.
It's been real.
Okay. Oh.